So tonight we are very honored to have a very special guest. So I'll talk in English first, and then I'll translate into Chinese. So today we are very, very honored to have Jagattarini Mataji coming to visit us after a long time.
After a very long time.
And Mataji is such a special, a family member to us, to the Hong Kong Yatra actually. And I have to say actually Mataji and your better half, Bhujan Prabhu, actually they are the pioneer to preach in Hong Kong, to bring Krishna consciousness to Hong Kong in the 70s. Which year? I can't remember.
1970, November 30th, 1970.
Wow. It's wonderful. So after so many years, but actually during the after that they come regularly to visit us and give us a very special association. So sweet. And Mataji has been spending a lot of time in India, in Vrindavan also. So but also in Perth, in Australia. So tonight we are very fortunate to have Mataji. So tonight actually there's no topic. So it's like more like an informal family gathering.
Yes.
So everyone is free to talk or ask questions or whatever that you want to share, or you want to ask Mataji about anything related to Krishna consciousness. And I think Mataji will be more than welcome to answer your questions and give you the wisdom.
Yes. Yeah.
咁我講中文啦，咁我哋今晚非常之開心咁就可以請到 Jagattarini Mataji 嚟到香港啦。咁佢係我哋一個非常非常之特別嘅同埋一個親密嘅屋企人嚟嘅。咁因為喺70年嘅時候咧，佢就同佢先生咧Bhujan Prabhu兩個咧就係最早咧係嚟到香港傳播呢個 Krishna 知覺嘅。咁之後咧，其實佢哋喺香港住咗一段時間啦。咁之後亦都成日都嚟香港嘅，差唔多之前咧係差唔多年都會經過香港嚟探我哋啦。咁所以佢亦都喺 Vrindavan 住咗好耐啦。咁佢亦都係喺澳洲 Perth 嗰度居住嘅。咁我哋今晚非常之開心啦，就可以請到 Mataji 嚟同我哋傾下偈。咁呢個係一個比較唔係好正式嘅，即係冇一個題目嘅。咁大家如果係有任何關於靈性收集嘅問題啊，或者有啲咩嘢都可以問Mataji嘅，佢一定可以有好多智慧同大家分享嘅。咁係冇一個特定嘅題目嚇，咁係大家可以隨意咁樣講都得。You have something to say, Mataji?
Yes. I was just thinking, actually, before I came to Hong Kong, when I heard I was coming to Hong Kong, I remembered something.
咁Mataji就話喺開始前咧，佢想講少少嘢。咁就係當佢知道決定咗嚟香港嘅時候咧，佢就諗起一啲嘢。
I remembered that myself and my newly married husband, we were living in Chongqing Mansion.
咁當時咧就係喺70年嘅時候咧，佢同佢啱啱結婚嘅先生啦，即係Bhujan Prabhu咧，就係住喺重慶大廈。
On the 12th floor of the A block in the International Guest House.
咁咧就喺呢個國際賓館嘅12樓嘅 A 座嗰度住。
And we used to go for walks here and there around to chant our rounds in the morning. 咁通常咧朝頭早咧，佢哋就會一齊咧，就係喺附近一啲街道度咧就行啦，喺度念誦。And in the morning in 1970 in Hong Kong, everything was quiet. 咁1970年嘅時候咧，喺香港咧朝頭早清晨嘅時候咧，好寧靜嘅。But outside many of the shops were piles and piles of garbage.
咁但係咧好多商店門口咧出邊咧就有好多嘅垃圾。
And sometimes there were pieces of styrofoam packaging.
咁咧就好多時有啲發泡膠嗰啲即係包裝嗰啲嘢喺度。
So we would go for a walk, and I would collect these shapes of styrofoam packaging, so as to make a little temple in the room we were staying in. 咁跟住
Mataji就咧收埋呢一啲嘅發泡膠啦，就跟住拎到翻去佢哋住嘅房啦，就將佢變成一個廟堂。
And sometimes we'd walk down Chatham Road.
咁有陣時咧，佢都會行過漆咸道嘅。
But that was a little far. That was a big walk.
咁呢個比較遠啦，係一個比較即係長嘅一個路程。
And at that time, Chatham Road, across the road was park, right along Chatham Road was park, and then there was a train line, and then there was the ocean.
咁當時咧差唔多咧對面咧就係一個公園嚟嘅，咁公園出邊咧就係呢一個火車軌，咁之後咧再出邊咧就係海啦。
So much of what you all accept as Hong Kong wasn't even there then.
咁我哋而家接受係香港嘅一部分咧，其實當時咧根本就唔存在。
And we didn't have any money.
咁當時佢哋都冇錢。
And we didn't understand Chinese language.
佢哋都唔識講中文。
And we were newly married and we didn't know each other.
咁當時佢哋啱啱結婚，佢哋根本唔識，大家係互相係唔認識嘅。
And sometimes we'd walk down Chatham Road.
咁有陣時我哋就沿住Chatham道行咯。
And there was one big fancy restaurant, I remember.
咁有一間咧係好大間啦，裝修得好靚嘅酒樓。
It was a big fancy Chinese restaurant, and inside everything was gold.
咁係一個金碧輝煌嘅中式酒家，入邊全部都係金色嗰啲嘢。
And red, and things hanging.
係啦，有金色啦、紅色啦，好多啲裝飾掛住喺度。
And we'd walk past that restaurant, and I'd look in the restaurant and see all this gold and red and everything.
咁咧，媽知道經過呢間酒樓咧，就見到入邊嗰啲哇好靚啊，紅色啊、金色嘅裝飾。
And I remember thinking at that time, wouldn't it be amazing if one day there was a temple in Hong Kong, and if it was beautiful, gold and red.
跟住媽知當時就諗，哇！如果香港有一間金碧輝煌嘅咁靚嘅一間廟堂咧，咁就好啦。
But at that time, that seemed like only a dream.
咁喺當時嚟講咧，似乎呢個只係一個夢想。
And I can't see, as none of us can, I couldn't see into the future.
就好似大家每一個人一樣，我哋冇辦法睇到將來會係點。
So I couldn't see what was to come.
咁我媽當時係唔知將來會係發生啲咩事。
So here I am now, 50 years later.
咁跟住咧，我而家就喺度啦，50年後。
54 years later.
係正確嚟講係54年後。
Sitting here with grey hair, talking to all of you.
咁我啲頭髮都白晒啦，就同大家一齊傾偈。
It's most astonishing.
非常之令人驚訝。
So the same can be said for all of us.
咁咧，同樣地呢句説話亦都可以對我哋自己講。
We can't see into the future.
我哋睇唔到將來會係點。
And when we think we can see into the future, we get in the way.
咁咧，當我哋覺得我哋可以睇到將來嘅時候，我哋就會有個既定嘅一個嘅方向。
In the same way as if you put a screen in front of a door, you can't see through the screen.
就好似咧，你如果將一個屏風就喺度門前邊啦，你就睇唔唔可以睇到後邊係啲乜嘢。
So here we are together.
咁我哋而家喺埋一齊啦。
And I'm curious to hear anything from any of you.
咁我咧非常好奇咧，想聽下大家每一個人想講啲乜嘢。
Mataji, Chungking Mansion is now a holy tirtha for all of us.
咁而家重慶大廈咧變咗我哋一個聖地。
I've never heard that said in my life before. Well, actually, for the American soldiers in the Vietnam War, they also thought Chungking Mansion was worshipable, but for a very different reason.
咁啊，對於喺越戰打仗嘅美軍嚟講咧，重慶大廈都係一個好特別嘅地方嚟嘅。咁但係就係另外一個原因啦。
They called it R&R, rest and recreation. R and R. They were in Hong Kong for R&R.
因為佢哋咧啲美軍嚟到香港咧就係休息啦，同埋嚟娛樂嘅嚟玩嘅。
Yeah, we can't even imagine what their recreation was like.
我哋冇辦法想像緊佢哋所講嘅娛樂活動係乜嘢。
Any questions? If no one has any questions or anything they want to ask, then I will read something to you.
咁大家冇問題可以隨意發言。如果唔係咧，媽知道會讀一啲嘢，閲讀一啲嘢俾我哋聽。
I have a question.
Okay.
What challenges did you face in transitioning from Grihastha ashram to Vanprastha ashram? And what advice would you give to someone who is trying to make that transition?
咁Shirley媽知嘅問題咧就係 當一個奉獻者由一個居士轉入去下一個階段啦，就係一個退休嘅階段啦。Vanapasta 係有啲咩挑戰咧，同埋有啲咩Mataji可以俾到一啲忠告俾我哋咧？
Well, first of all, we never thought like that.
咁啊，首先就係Mataji從來都冇咁樣諗過嘅。
We were too necessary to each other.
因為兩個都好互相好需要對方。
To consider breaking apart.
咁咧，從來都冇諗過係會分開嘅。
Srila Prabhupada told my husband when he was in 1974.
咁當時咧，聖帕巴咧喺1974年咧就從Mataji嘅先生啦，即係Bhaktivedanta Prabhu就咁樣講。
No, 1976, when he decided that he would come back to Hong Kong and serve here, but I wouldn't.
咁當時咧係1976年咧，Bhaktivedanta Prabhu就決定1976年佢會再翻嚟香港係香港服務啦，但係Mataji咧就唔會再翻嚟啦。
I was quite firm on my limitations.
咁因為佢明白到好確定知道自己嘅限制喺邊度。
And we had a little baby.
咁當時亦都有個小 BB。But
he kept wanting to come back and do what Srila Prabhupada asked him to do here.
咁但係Bhaktivedanta Prabhu就好想咧係堅持係要翻嚟香港咧，就係履行咧係聖Prabhupada咧俾佢嘅訓示去做啲乜嘢服務。
So he thought in his mind. In his 20s, he thought, I can live in Hong Kong sometimes and come back to Australia sometimes. He had some idea.
咁當時佢心意咧就喺度諗啦，佢可以喺香港服務一段時間啦，然之後再翻去澳洲咧住一段時間。
And so he went to present his idea to Srila Prabhupada.
咁跟住咧就將佢呢個諗法咧就係向聖Prabhupada講。
And he got as far as just explaining the beginning. I'm ready to go back to Hong Kong. My wife's not, and Prabhupada cut him off.
咁當時咧Bhaktivedanta Prabhu先係開始講嘅啫，我咧就會翻香港繼續服務啦，跟住Mataji就會喺澳洲啦咁樣，跟住講到呢度咧，聖Prabhupada已經係斬斷咗佢嘅講話。
And he said to him, he's in his 20s. He says, you shouldn't even consider taking sannyas. 咁
當時咧Bhaktivedanta Prabhu係大約20幾歲啦，咁聖Prabhupada就話：你甚至唔好諗咧，你要出家做托缽僧。
Until you turn 50，
直至到你係50歲，你之前你都唔好諗。
And then your daughter will take care of your wife。
咁跟住咧之後咧，你嘅女咧就會照顧你太太。
And we were astonished because he wasn't thinking of taking sannyas.
跟住我哋就好驚嚇啦，因為當時咧Bhaktivedanta Prabhu並唔係諗話要去出家做托缽僧。
He wasn't thinking of breaking up the family.
佢亦都冇諗過咧係斷住同屋企嘅家庭嘅關係。
But it was as if Srila Prabhupada gave him some message for the future.
咁但係似乎咧就係聖Prabhupada咧俾佢一個係應用喺將來嘅一個訓示。
So after his 50, we looked at life.
咁跟住我哋到咗50歲之後咧，我哋再睇翻我哋嘅人生。
And there was no economic basis to take care of me.
當時咧係冇任何經濟支柱可以係照顧Mataji嘅。
Or his daughter.
或者係佢嘅女。
And so it didn't become practical.
咁所以咧係咁樣諗就唔係咁實際。
So we met, and now that was 25 years ago.
咁呢個咧已經係25年前嘅嘢啦。
So we don't think in terms of Vanaprastha and sannyas. We think in terms of completing the life.
咁所以咧，當時佢嘅諗法就唔係話我哋要轉落另外一個退休嘅階段啦，或者托缽僧嘅階段啦，而係咧我哋點樣去完成我哋嘅人生。
That's us. There are other people who do think in those regulated terms. But for us personally, we just think of how will we complete what our offering? How will we complete? How can we please Prabhupada and just complete something?
咁當時佢哋兩個嘅諗法就係話，我哋點樣去完成我哋嘅人生咧？點樣去取悅聖Prabhupada做呢個服務咧？但係當然咧，亦都有一啲奉獻者佢哋係會咁樣計劃嘅。
So if someone feels inspired to go through retirement like that and Vanaprastha and then to separate, then it has to be because they want to make that offering to Srila Prabhupada.
咁當然有啲奉獻者佢就係真係計劃係佢哋會退休啦 ，Vanapasta 啦，跟住就分開啦。咁但係呢個咧係要作為一個咧係去取悅聖Prabhupada嘅方法。
And both people need to be equally happy about that.
而兩個即係夫婦之間咧，兩個人咧都要咧同樣咧係會要覺得係快樂先可以嘅。
That's our case. Yes. Hare Krishna.
You were also mentioning when you had initially come here, there was no temple. Even Gurujan too had given an example where he was walking and then the money started flowing. So in those times, do you have anything to share? How does a devotee keep that faith when he doesn't see those things?
How does a devotee keep faith when he doesn't see the things that he wants happening? Yes. For himself or for the temple?
Let me translate.
In general?
Yes.
Okay, let me translate first. 咁Prabhupada問嘅問題就係話咧，當時佢哋即係喺香港啦，其實係好多嘢冇錢啦，好多嘢都冇啦。咁但係當有需要嘅時候咧，啲嘢就會出現嘅，就會提供俾佢哋。咁係呢個係一個信念嚟嘅。咁個問題就係我哋點樣當我哋缺少好多嘢嘅時候，我哋需要好多嘢嘅時候，我哋點樣可以保持住呢一份咁堅定嘅信念咧？
Well, obviously it depends how serious the situation is. Whether one's seeing something they want a little bit, or they're seeing something that's really, really important.
咁就要睇呢件事有幾咁重要性咧，係少少嘅嘢，定係一樣非常之重要嘅嘢。
But in either case, what one has to learn to do is to see that somehow or other Krishna is in control.
咁但係兩樣都咩情況之下都好啦。咁一個人奉獻者必須要明白咧，就係我哋要接受咧，就所有嘢咧都係 Krishna 係佢係控制住嘅。
So that's really easy to say. We all know the answer.
咁當然一講就好容易，我哋大家都知道答案。
But in each given situation, I experience at least that initially I'm bewildered.
咁但係喺好多情況之下啦，或者係Mataji經歷嘅情況之下咧，其實佢係好迷茫嘅。
I can't see why Krishna wouldn't want whatever it is.
佢睇唔到點解 Krishna 唔想咁樣咧嚇，冇任何原因唔想嘅喎。
Why wouldn't he want it? I want it.
因為我想喎，點解 Krishna 唔想咧？
So I find I have to go through a process myself, a process of recognizing that I might have it back the front, that I'm seeing that my vision is very good and Krishna should follow, rather than the other way.
咁好多時咧就係會來來去反反覆覆啦，咁樣就係就係覺得啊，我嘅諗法係最好嘅 ，Krishna 咧要跟從我嘅諗法。
And I think the other thing that I've had to practice is to keep remembering what the Hare Krishna movement is meant for.
咁我另外一樣要常常要提醒、要諗記憶住咧，就係究竟呢一個 Hare Krishna 嘅運動咧係為咗乜嘢原因嘅咧
？Why are we doing the things why are we supposed to be doing the things we're doing?
我哋點解咧係應該要做我哋要去做嘅一啲嘢咧？
Because mostly I find I'm doing them because that's my daily routine.
咁好多時我做好多我做嘅嘢咧，就係好似我日常每日即係已經係習慣咗要做嘅嘢，於是我就去做。
Or it's something to do with my life.
或者係我人生入邊要做嘅嘢。
So Prabhupada says, so this Krishna consciousness movement is simply to teach people how to love Krishna.
咁聖帕巴就講啦 ，Krishna 之個運動咧就係純粹咧就係教導人點樣去愛 Krishna，
and how to become beloved of Krishna.
亦都點樣成為咧係 Krishna 愛嘅一個人。
Savai Pumsam, the greatest type of religious life.
呢個咧亦都係一個最偉大嘅信仰嘅信仰嘅人生。
Savai Pumsam Parodharma, because we are teaching how to love Krishna.
因為我哋咧係教導人咧點樣去愛 Krishna。
And if you can, if you or we, or if some way or another, if we love Krishna, then our life is successful.
咁無論係你我啦，或者大家啦，如果能夠去愛 Krishna 嘅話咧，我哋嘅人生咧就會成功。
Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir adhoksajay. The supreme occupation of all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendental Lord.
而人生最成功嘅職責咧，就係能夠咧係去愛 Krishna， 係愛呢一個超然嘅神，為佢做呢個服務。
Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self.
咁而呢一個服務咧係要不間斷啦，係要自願嘅啦，亦都係咧完全能夠滿足自我。
So we're in a position where our efforts to please Krishna are interrupted.
咁而我哋喺一個階段咧，就我哋去取悅 Krishna 嘅呢個服務咧，其實係有間斷嘅中間。
And so they don't fully satisfy us.
咁所以我哋唔會得到完全嘅滿足。
And so for me, when I don't seem things aren't coming, Krishna seems to be not helping, things are difficult, I try to go back to this route that Srila Prabhupada is mentioning.
咁所以當我遇到困難啦，當我發覺我得唔到我需要嘅嘢啦，呢個生活變得好多問題嘅時候咧，我就會翻去睇翻咧，去讀翻咧聖帕巴所講嘅呢句説話。
What do you think?
Thinking it.
Yeah, good. Yeah. If you have any more questions, please ask. Yeah. Yes.
Related to that, oftentimes devotees will say it's whatever they decide or don't decide in their respective lives.
Yes.
Krishna's arrangement.
咁Prabhupada就講啦，好多時咧，奉獻者就話啦，無論係發生咩事都好啦，係佢想或者佢唔想都好啦，咁佢就話呢個咧係 Krishna 嘅安排。
Yes.
And how much is it? It's almost like giving him the responsibility. He decided it, and that's why I'm doing it.
跟住我哋就會將責任咧俾咗 Krishna 啦。嗱，呢個係 Krishna 嘅安排嚟嘅，咁所以咧就係佢決定嘅。
So, and we learn Krishna is in control of everything.
Yes.
We sort of know that. But
Yes.
how much is maybe we're deciding it, and how much is it,
Krishna.
or is it Krishna's arrangement?
咁我哋都知道 Krishna 係最終嘅控制者啦。咁究竟當我哋咁講嘅時候，究竟幾多嘢？當呢啲事情發生嘅時候，究竟幾多咧係我哋自己嘅決定，而幾多咧係我哋所講嘅 Krishna 嘅安排咧？
That's a very, what to say, that's a question that many people ask.
呢個咧係好多人都會問嘅問題。
A very common question.
一個非常之常見嘅問題。
How do we know when it's Krishna's did it to me? And how do we know when it's me who's doing it?
咁究竟我哋幾時先知道呢個係其實係 Krishna 安排會發生喺我身上嘅嘢，定係我自己去決定呢樣嘢係發生嘅呢？
Well, there isn't a kind of a formula.
咁係冇一個方程式嘅。
That you can sort of scan the formula and
咁係冇呢個方程式，跟住就俾到答案你。
But you can assume that since we are not yet on this platform of learning, of fully loving Krishna, that there's going to be something of our fault in everything we do.
因為我哋咧未去到一個完全去愛 Krishna 嘅呢個層面咧，咁所以咧無論我哋嘅決定，即係咩決定都好啦，其實入邊咧一定係有一啲咧係錯誤嘅地方。
So therefore, there's always has to be some account that's our responsibility.
咁所以咧係有好多嘅可能性。
And there's a formula somewhere actually that I heard. One time I remember it was early morning and I had Prabhupada was playing in the lecture and I was doing something and I heard Prabhupada say, "It's Krishna's fault." And I was so shocked that I stopped and I went and I found the lecture And I looked it up on Prabhupada's folio database. It's Krishna's fault? What is this?
咁跟住有一次咧，就Mataji就喺度做緊啲嘢啦，仲喺度聽播緊正Prabhupada嘅講課啦。跟住突然之間佢就聽到咧，呢個係 Krishna 嘅錯誤。跟住佢就好驚訝，於是佢就翻轉頭再聽，跟住就揾翻喺啲database 嗰度就揾翻Prabhupada呢一個講課出嚟。
So he said, I'm going to try and get this correct. He said that if you see everything as belonging to Krishna, and Krishna's in control, if you see that, then it's Krishna's fault. And Krishna knows how to fix it.
咁聖包嗰陣時就係咁樣講，如果你係睇到所有嘢屬於 Krishna， 而 Krishna 係最終嘅控制者，控制所有嘢。咁如果係咁嘅話，如果你咁樣係完全係可以咁樣睇嘅話咧，咁呢個咧係 Krishna 嘅錯誤，而 Krishna 咧亦都有有方法咧去糾正呢個錯誤。
So first, before we can say it's Krishna's fault, Krishna did it, Krishna's arrangement, we have to be able to keep our consciousness such that we see everything belongs to him, I belong to him, everything belongs to him, and he's in master of everything, so Krishna did it.
咁如果我哋要講話呢個係 Krishna 嘅安排，呢個係 Krishna 做嘅，我哋喺講呢句説話之前咧，我哋必須咧係要完全咧係接受喺個層面咧，喺個意識嗰度咧係知道所有嘢都係屬於 Krishna，Krishna 係所有嘢嘅控制者，我哋先可以咁樣講。
And we have moments of that.
我哋都有一啲時刻係咁樣嘅。
Where our faith is clean and clear, and we see, oh, Krishna made that not happen, or Krishna made that happen. 咁
當我哋個意識，我哋嘅信念係好堅定、好清晰嘅時候咧，我哋就會即係感受到Krishna 呢個係 Krishna 所做嘅 Krishna 嘅安排。
And I wish I had a lot more of it.
我希望有多啲呢一啲嘅時刻。
But I know the formula. Anything else? We have a lot of very silent people here.
大家都好沉默。
Everybody's too shy to speak in front of others, right?
大家係咪喺其他人面前有啲怕醜唔講嘢？
It's funny, sometimes you're thinking, oh, I'm not going to say anything that sounds so silly.
咁有陣時我會覺得我都係唔好講嘢啦，我講啲嘢好幼稚。
And everybody will see that, you know, I'm a little silly.
咁每一人都覺得我好幼稚啊咁樣。
But the funny part is that everybody's hoping somebody else will say something because they know that they need to hear something more about Krishna.
咁但係咧，就每一個人都想其他人講嘢喎，因為咧佢哋想聽多啲關於 Krishna 嘅嘢。
So only the brave people speak up.
咁通常咧就係啲好勇敢嘅人咧就會講嘢啦。
So anyone have anything to say? Ask. Yes. Hare Krishna.
I have a question. I'm not sure. So I want to ask your opinions.
Yeah.
Because I heard that it's easier to approach Lord Chaitanya than Lord Krishna. So because different reasons, like for example, Lord Chaitanya, the whole living just is like he is very merciful, just merciful, and Lord Krishna is in another way. So if I have some struggles or difficulties to maintain my practice, or I have disturbance, is it easier when I meditate upon Lord Chaitanya than Lord Krishna?
咁問題就係我哋成日都話咧，係主宰攤爺係比住 Krishna 咧係更加仁慈嘅，容易啲親近嘅。咁當我哋遇到問題或者有啲喺靈修上有啲困難嘅時候，我哋係咪應該冥想住主宰攤爺就 Lord Chaitanya就唔係 Krishna 咧？
It's easier to approach Lord Chaitanya.
咁我哋去親近主宰攤爺係容易啲嘅。
And easier than Lord Chaitanya is Lord Nityananda. 咁
而比主宰攤爺更加容易啲嘅咧，就係主Nityananda。
Because Nityananda saw very clearly the difficulties that everyone would be facing.
因為咧，主 Nityananda 咧好清楚咁睇到咧，每一個人要面對嘅困難。
And he was very, very concerned.
佢亦都非常之關心我哋。
And it's through the mercy of Lord Nityananda, the blessings of Lord Nityananda, that we get the confidence to pray for the right thing.
咁然之後係通過啲主 Nityananda 嘅仁慈啦，佢嘅祝福啦，我哋可以咧係祈求得到啲正確嘅嘢。
I use myself as an example that most of my prayers are for sort of like help.
咁阿姐就佢自己做例子啦。咁佢大部分嘅祈禱咧都係話幫我啦。
Help with this, please help with that, please help with this. I'm not feeling like doing this. So many prayers like that.
好多時就我唔想做呢啲覺得呢啲有問題，你可唔可以幫我啊？你可唔可以幫我啊？
They flow naturally. Help, help, help.
好自然就會流露出嚟就Krishna 幫我啦，你幫我。
Like a small child. You know, they fall over and the mother picks them up. They fall over and pick them up.
就好似個細路仔啦，佢跌低，跟住媽媽就拉佢起身啦，再跌低，媽媽又再拉佢起身。
So sometimes I get a bit sick of myself.
跟住有時覺得自己好煩。
Just going help, 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 help.
成日都即係祈禱，就係希望可以得到幫助。
But Lord Nityananda doesn't get sick of us.
咁但係咧，主 Nityananda 咧就唔會覺得我哋即係好煩嘅。
And he's very patient.
佢咧非常之有耐心。
And he's the giver of the strength that we need to be able to get ourselves up.
佢亦都咧係俾呢一個能力俾我哋咧，能夠可以自己我哋起翻身。
So I think that's the best place to begin.
咁呢個應該係一個最好開始嘅地方。
But we can never forget, of course, that Lord Chaitanya is Krishna.
咁我哋都一定唔可以忘記咧，主Chaitanya就係主 Krishna。
And he's displaying the heart of Srimati Radharani.
而佢係咧係表現出咧主Srimati Radharani 嘅心髓。
So wherever you start, you'll find yourself in the cycle.
咁同我哋邊度開始都好，你都喺呢個循環當中。
So whatever's working,
咁所以
continue.
如果佢係得嘅、成功嘅，你就繼續做就得㗎啦。
Thank you. Good question. Any other? Okay, I'm going to read you something. So, we were sitting at home and I was thinking I have to meet everyone tonight, and then I thought of somebody I didn't like. Because, you know, somebody we don't like.
咁今晚先諗到今晚要同大家即係見面啦，跟住佢就諗起一啲佢唔中意嘅人。咁我哋每一個人都有啲人我哋唔中意嘅。
And I found myself thinking about how I really didn't like them, and it's not a good thing to retaliate.
咁跟住媽就我真係唔中意啲人喎。咁但係我哋唔應該去報復嘅。
They said this to me.
佢哋講呢啲嘢，即係對我講呢啲嘢。
So I'm going to say this to them.
咁於是好啦，我就要對佢哋講呢一啲嘢。
But I also saw that it's very strong in us to take sides, to like some people, not other people, and so on.
咁但係咧，其實我哋話我哋去即係要喺偏某一方啦。我中意一個唔中意一個，其實都唔係咁好。
So I did something that I learnt in Hong Kong.
咁於是咧，我就做咗啲我喺香港學到嘅嘢。
Now, just picture this. I'm 21 years old. No, just turned 22. My husband is 23. We have never met in our lives before.
咁大家可以想象下，我當時咧22歲，爸爸咧就23歲。咁我哋咧喺香港，但係我哋之前從來都未見過面嘅。
We have never even seen a picture of each other.
我哋大家嘅相都冇見過。
Nobody organised our marriage thoughtfully.
冇人咧係好好咁樣為我哋安排我哋嘅婚禮。
There was almost absolutely no thought involved.
咁從來冇人諗過呢樣嘢。
And the only thing that made it valid was that Srila Prabhupada had said to me when I first came to the temple, in a very grandfatherly way, he said, I will arrange your marriage.
咁唯一一樣係即係真係有效嘅嘢咧，就係當媽媽係啱啱去到廟堂嘅時候咧，跟住聖帕巴咧就好似一個祖父咁樣同佢講，我會安排你嘅婚姻。
Which was very shocking to me.
咁當時咧媽媽好震驚。
I don't know if he said it to anyone else. I never heard of it.
咁當時佢唔知道咧，聖帕巴有冇同其他人都係咁樣講。
But I think he was relieved to see that I was taking some spiritual life.
咁但係當睇到媽係即係真係開始咗靈修嘅話咧，應該帕巴都會開心。即係
I'm Australian. I'm coming from Australia to America. I have only a 6-month visa.
咁當時咧媽係澳洲人嚟嘅，佢去美國咧即係6個月嘅簽證。
5 months are gone, and I've only been chanting Hare Krishna for 5 months.
咁咧就當時就過咗5個月啦，佢亦都淨係念誦 Hare Krishna 咧係5個月嘅啫。
What's going to happen when 6 months transpires? I don't know.
咁當時跟住6個月簽證到期啦，究竟會咩事發生咧？佢根本就唔知道。
Then somebody suggested this nice boy who wants to get married, who's living in Japan.
咁跟住有人咧就提議呢一個好好嘅男仔，佢就係美國人啦，就當時佢住喺日本。
Wouldn't I like to go to Japan and get married?
你想唔想去日本結婚啊？
Maybe.
可能啦
，No thought.
冇諗過。
No understanding of what it was involving.
咁根本冇諗過咧，究竟當中咧係有啲會有啲咩嘢發生咧？
So then that nice young man, he moved from Japan to Hong Kong. He's in Hong Kong, and I get a ticket arrives for me to Hong Kong, and I'm told you just get on this flight and you go to Hong Kong, and you can meet this young man and instantly get married.
咁跟住呢個男仔咧就由日本去咗香港啦。咁於是咧我就買咗張去香港嘅由美國去香港嘅機票啦。跟住有人同我講就你去到香港咧就即刻會結婚㗎啦。
And even when I hear the story, I go, "How did you do that?"
跟住當我聽到呢個故事嘅時候，我都話點樣會發生嘅咧？
And I can't even answer the question.
我根本我自己都答唔到呢個問題。
It had something to do with Srila Prabhupada.
咁係其實同聖帕巴係有關嘅。
So I get to the airport, and then I say, this lady's driving me to the airport. I say, "Oh, Nandarani, I don't have any money."
咁跟住咧，我就有Nandarani Mataji就車我去機場啦。跟住我就同佢講啦，我一啲錢都冇喎。
And I'm going to Hong Kong.
跟住我而家要去香港。
She said to me, "You don't need money on an international flight."
跟住媽姐就同呢個奉獻者就同媽姐講：你搭長途機國際機咧唔使錢㗎。
They'll give you food, they'll give you drink, everything's okay.
佢哋會有嘢俾你食啦，有嘢俾你飲啦，每樣嘢OK 嘅啦，冇問題。
Here's 10 magazines.
咁咧嗱呢度10本
distribute those 10 magazines.
呢度有10本
and you'll have $10.
回歸手神雜誌，你就派咗10本雜誌就有10美金。
And so I got on the flight.
跟住媽啲就上咗飛機。
And I come to the other end.
跟住嚟到香港啦。
And as we were coming down, at that time the airport was just near here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're just starting to descend, and I start thinking to myself, "Oh, I wonder what he'll look like."
跟住咧，當呢個飛機就係降落啦，即係嗰陣時仲喺九龍城嘅機場啦。咁跟住開始降落嘅時候咧，我之後就喺度諗，呢個男仔係點樣樣嘅咧？
Maybe he'll have blue eyes.
或者佢有藍色嘅眼睛。
Or blonde hair.
或者啡色嘅頭髮。
Or
或者係點咧
And I'm going like this, hallucinating all these pictures from my movie watching life.
跟住大家就跟住媽啲嘅腦海入邊就出現一啲好似電影咁嘅一啲嘅影像。
And then it was almost like a very silent voice just cut through the whole thing and said, "Maybe there'll be nobody there."
跟住咧，突然之間有一個靜好細嘅聲音就話俾我聽，可能乜嘢人都冇喎。
So I got off the flight.
跟住就攞機啦。
And I came out into the arrivals place.
跟住就去到呢個接機大堂。
There was nobody there.
跟住真係咧係一個人都冇。
And I didn't know what to do. I had my $10 and I don't know what to do, and I don't know who this person is, where they're staying in Hong Kong. I don't know anything at all.
跟住當時媽子就$10啦，$10啦，跟住就佢冇人嚟接佢機啦，佢亦都唔知道呢個人係住喺邊，喺香港住喺邊啦，亦係喺邊度，都一啲都唔知。
And there was a police booth.
咁當時有個警崗。
So I walked up to them in a very happy way and smiled at them and said to them, "Listen, I'm trying to find this person. His name is Warren Weinstein."
咁跟住有個警講，於是媽就好開心走埋同個警察講：我想揾一個叫做
Where does he live? What's his address?
跟揾呢個人，跟住警察就問：佢住喺邊啊？地址喺邊啊
？American Express.
跟住美國運通。
American Express isn't business.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, I don't have any address. I just have American Express. So they looked at me.
跟住媽啲就同個警察講：我冇地址喎。跟住啲警察就望住佢。
And they were as polite as they possibly could be.
跟住佢哋就好禮貌咁同佢講。
And they suggested that because it was Sunday, I would have to wait until Monday to ring up and find out who this person was and why he wasn't there. 跟住啲警察就非常之有禮貌咁同媽子講：今日係星期日啊，你可能要等到禮拜一咧，我哋咧就嘗試去打電話咧睇下呢一個人究竟喺邊。So I took my suitcase and my money and I slept quietly somewhere on a bench.
跟住我就攞咗我啲錢啦，攞住我啲行李咧，就好安靜咁樣咧，就係喺個長凳嗰度咧就瞓覺。
And in the morning, there were two, my husband and another devotee who was going to make the marriage. He showed up.
跟住 two of them.
Only one showed up.
Oh, the one that arranged the marriage.
The one who was arranging the marriage.
咁跟住咧，第二朝咧，終於咧就係安排佢哋兩個結婚嘅呢個奉獻者就出現咗啦。
And he said, "So now I've just come to pick you up. I'm sorry we didn't get your message. It was a delay and American Express and so on and so on. So let's go. We're going to Chongqing Mansion."
跟住呢個奉獻者就同媽子講：唔好意思啊，我哋收唔到你嘅信息啊，所以嚟遲咗。咁我而家咧就會帶你去重慶大廈。
And in my mind, Chongqing Mansion sounded like.
跟住喺媽子嘅心目中，重慶大廈應該有啲好靚嘅一啲嘅建築物。
So the taxi drives up.
跟住就坐的士。
And there are steps up to Chongqing Mansion.
咁樣要行幾級樓梯上重慶大廈嘅。
And there's this young man, shaved, no blonde hair, nothing shaved.
咁當時就見到終於見到呢個後生仔啦。咁樣就唔係啡色嘅頭髮，因為佢已經剃光咗個頭。
And he got me out. He said, "This is Boyjan."
跟住呢個奉獻呢個婆婆就接咗媽子落車啦，跟住就話嗱呢個咧就係 Boyjan 婆婆啦。
And then he said, "Now you two go and get flowers from the flower market, which was opposite at Chongqing, and then meet us at the Hindu temple in Carnarvon Road, and we'll get married."
OK， 咁跟住咧呢個奉獻者就同我哋兩個講啦，嗱你過對面個花店嗰度買啲花。跟住咧，我就會帶你去呢個金馬倫道嘅呢一個印度廟度咧，你兩個就喺嗰度結婚。
He needed 2 witnesses.
咁需要2個見證人。
He picked them up on the side of the street.
跟住就喺街邊揾咗2個人同佢哋做見證人。
An elderly drunk Indian man.
有一個飲醉酒。
And an American woman who was a puppeteer and was traveling the world.
咁亦都有個就係美國人嘅，佢應該係遊客嚟嘅喺度，即係環遊世界。
And then we went to the Hindu temple and we were married.
跟住我哋就去到印度廟咧，跟住就結咗婚啦。
And then he said, "I'm leaving tomorrow."
跟住呢個婆婆就話：我聽日就走啦。
Good luck.
祝你哋好運。
And there I was, and I'm married to this person. I don't even know the person. Chongqing Mansion's no mansion.
跟住結果就係媽呢啲同一個佢唔認識嘅人結咗婚啦，係住喺呢個重慶大廈嗰度。
And the whole job is done.
呢個工作就完成咗啦。
Done.
已經做完啦。
No room for any change of mind.
冇任何空間俾你去改變你嘅心意。
And so you can see it was an unusual marriage.
你可以見到，你可以明白到呢個係一個好唔尋常嘅結婚。
And we didn't have a lot in common to begin with.
咁開始嘅時候，兩個亦都冇乜共通點嘅。
So sometimes really odd or difficult situations give birth to something amazing.
咁有陣時係有一啲好奇怪嘅嘢發生咧，就係會有一個好美好嘅結局。
And in this case, what it gave birth to was the fact that I didn't have anything to say to him, I didn't know him, I couldn't make conversation with him. So I had brought with me a Bhagavad Gita, a Nectar of Devotion, and a Krishna book, 3 books.
咁當時咧就媽知係佢唔了解呢個人啦，亦都冇嘢同佢講，亦都唔識點同佢講嘢啦。咁當時咧佢就係帶咗3本書，就係博家梵歌啦、奉愛的甘露啦，同埋呢一個 Krishna book Krishna 永恆的快樂的泉源。
And whether he liked it or not, I kept my head in a book most of the time.
無論佢中唔中意都好，我都係大部分時間咧都係睇住本書。
I was reading and reading and reading and reading.
咁我不斷喺度讀書。
And it created a habit for me.
咁亦都成為咗一個習慣。
And that was that I equated difficult situation, read a book, read one of Prabhupada's books.
咁亦都係呢個成為咗媽知嘅習慣，就係當佢遇到一啲困難嘅時候咧，佢就會讀聖巴巴嘅書。
And because a difficult situation amplifies the situation that you're in, it makes it much more impactful. I found that the words I was reading in the book were deep.
咁因為呢啲困難咧，會即係將個處境變得即係會強化咗，即係放大咗呢一啲嘅影響啦。咁所以我就更加發現咧，係喺啲書本入邊嘅聖巴巴所講嘅説話咧，係非常之深入嘅。
And so every time we went over a bump, trying to get that relationship to work, I knew, go back, read a book, quick read a book.
咁當每一次佢哋喺個關係入邊遇到一啲嘅障礙、一啲問題嘅時候咧，咁佢咧媽知就即刻話：我要翻去讀聖巴巴嘅書，翻去讀書。
And it was one of the most fertile times in my Krishna consciousness.
咁亦都呢段時間亦都係媽知喺 Krishna 知覺修習入邊咧一個非常之豐盛嘅時候。
So that when Srila Prabhupada left this world,
咁當聖巴巴離開呢個世界之後，
we were introduced to him through the folio, Veda base.
咁我哋咧就係通過咧呢個 Veda base 啦，即係入邊咧就可以係接觸到聖巴巴。
Instead of just 1 book or 2 books or 3 books,
咁就唔單止係1本、2本、3本書。
there is a collection of all Srila Prabhupada's books.
咁係所有聖巴巴所寫嘅書都有啦。
And I assume that most of you are familiar with folio, but those who aren't, it's extraordinary because everything is there.
咁大家應你 mean the Veda base?
Veda base.
Yeah. 咁咧就係我哋我相信大家都應該好熟悉呢個 Veda base 啦，即係咁入邊咧係所有聖巴巴嘅嘢有關嘅嘢都喺入邊嘅。
So this afternoon, when I was thinking of who I would like to, get back on,
跟住今日下晝我就諗緊，我喺度諗緊一個我唔中意嘅人，我點樣去回應呢個人呢？
how I'd like to give them a hard time.
我想俾一個困難嘅時候俾呢個人。
Because they're giving me a hard time.
因為佢哋咧俾咗個好困難嘅時間俾我。
I remembered, that's probably not what you're supposed to be doing.
咁當然我知道呢個未必係我哋應該做嘅嘢。
Go and read something.
咁咧就要去讀一啲嘢啦，讀書。
So I went to the Bhaktivedanta Veda base.
咁我就翻去揾呢個 Bhaktivedanta 嘅 Veda base 啦。
And I put in a word in the search.
咁我就打一個字入去尋找一啲有關嘅文章。
I put in the word retaliate.
咁我咧就打呢個報復呢個字。
Because oftentimes we want to retaliate.
因為好多時我哋想去報復。
Not only retaliate against a person.
咁唔單止係要報復一個人啦。
We want to retaliate against our circumstances.
咁我哋咧可能會對一個處境咧，我哋都會想去報復。
We find that something's not fair.
我哋會發現有啲嘢咧係唔公平嘅。
And it should be different.
或者係唔應該咁樣嘅。
But it isn't.
咁但係結果就係發生咗。
So just in a way that grew from that early beginning, I started to collect some quotes about retaliation.
咁於是我就開始咧就係收集一啲關於報復嘅呢一啲嘅説話一啲講課。
And there were only 4 or 5, and they weren't exceptionally powerfully related to retaliation.
咁啊得好少啫4-5句啦，咁唔係同呢樣嘢咧係有好大嘅關係。
But each one of them had a message in it for me.
咁但係每一句呢啲句子入邊咧，對我嚟講都有個意思。
So this is how I go on in the journey of life.
咁呢個咧就係我點樣繼續我嘅人生嘅旅程。
I always look to Srila Prabhupada's books.
我成日都會翻去睇翻聖帕巴嘅書。
In a conversational way.
咁係好似一個對話嘅咁樣嘅方法。
I mean, not in a study way.
咁唔係話好即係係咁喺度讀啊咁樣。
But in the way you would go to a friend and say, "I'm having a problem today."
咁我就好似我去揾一個朋友，同佢講話，我今日遇到個困難。
Can you please help me?
你可唔可以幫我啊？
So this was something that I read about retaliating.
咁呢個就係我讀到關於報復嘅一啲嘢。
When Lord Shiva was insulted at the sacrifice made by a king Maharaj Daksha.
咁當時咧就係講到咧就係主 Shiva 咧就係被Daksha 咧係喺一個祭祀嘅嘅情況祭祀嘅時候咧係俾 Daksha 咧係侮辱。
Who was a very powerful person who was performing some kind of Vedic sacrifice.
咁當時一啲好有力量嘅人咧就做緊一啲偉大嘅祭祀。
Lord Shiva decided to retaliate.
咁主 Shiva 咧就決定咧就要報復。
And so he created a huge black monster.
佢咧就製造一個好大嘅黑色嘅怪獸出嚟。
For the purpose of retaliation.
咁咧就係為咗報復。
And Prabhupada says, there is sometimes a competition between the mode of goodness and the mode of ignorance.
咁聖帕巴就咁樣講啦，有陣時咧係呢一個善良屬性咧，同埋激情屬善良屬性同埋愚昧屬性咧係會有個比賽喺度。
So this is very relevant for us.
咁呢個咧對我哋講係非常之有關嘅。
Prabhupada says that is the way of material existence.
咁呢個咧就係物質存在嘅方法。
Even when one is situated in the mode of goodness, when one is good.
咁就算一個人咧係身處喺呢個善良屬性當中
，there is every possibility that his position will be mixed with or attacked by the mode of passion or ignorance.
咁就算呢個人身處喺善良屬性當中啦，好大機會咧，亦都會被呢一個激情屬性啦，或者係愚昧屬性咧，係攻擊咧，或者係混雜咗入去。
This is the law of material nature.
呢個咧就係大自然嘅定律。
Now, what really this one I underlined it because I thought, oh, that's interesting.
咁跟住一句説話咧就係乜都知就係間低咗嘅，呢個係佢覺得非常之有趣嘅。
Because when we face a problem or a problem person,
如果我哋遇到一個難題咧，或者一個好麻煩嘅人嘅時候
we tend to think that the problem is that person.
咁我就會諗咧就係呢個問題咧就係因為呢個人。
And we don't see the bigger picture.
我哋睇唔到更加大嘅成個嘅圖片。
We don't see that there's always constantly this changing flux between goodness and ignorance.
我哋睇唔到咧，其實係善良屬性同埋愚昧屬性咧不斷喺度咧係混雜埋一齊。
And that it's always like that in the whole material existence, wherever you go.
喺整個嘅物質存在咧，其實都係咁樣嘅，無論你去到邊都係一樣。
And from the Shastra, from the holy books, we understand that there are higher planetary systems like heavens, you could say.
咁喺經典入邊咧，我哋知道咧有一啲更加高等嘅星球啦，譬如一啲天堂嘅星球。
And anywhere you would go, from the top place to the bottom place, and everywhere in between.
咁你可以係去到最高階嘅星球咧，亦都可以去到最低等嘅星球啦，或者任何一個中間嘅地方。
You'll find the same.
無論你去到邊都好啦，其實都係一樣嘅。
So if you say, I've got a problem,
如果你話咧，我有一個問題，有一個困難，
I'm not satisfied,
我咧唔滿足，
I need more,
我需要多啲，
I don't know what to do,
我唔知道要做啲乜嘢。
you'll carry that everywhere.
咁你咧就
That goes on everywhere.
咁咧就會就所有任何地方都係咁樣。
So when I came to Hong Kong and got married like that, it was an attempt to do something for a higher reason.
咁咧，當我咁樣嚟到香港啦，就咁樣結咗婚啦。咁其實會有，即係我就會睇到一個應該有個更加有一個更加高階啲嘅原因呢件事發生。
So there was a part of me that always thought, for a long time, I missed out on something. I missed out on something.
咁我咧有一部分我咧成日都會咁諗，我係咪漏咗一啲嘢，錯過咗一啲嘢？
There was no blonde-haired, blue-eyed.
咁咧，我眼前嘅啲人咧就冇啡色嘅頭髮啦，藍色嘅眼睛。
There were no holidays all around the world.
亦都冇話去全世界去放假去旅遊。
There was no beautiful house and this and that.
亦都冇啲好靚嘅屋啦，冇呢樣冇嗰樣啦。
All there was two people
我哋只係得兩個人
trying to get along with each other
咁咧就大家嘗試去即係一齊生活
on the basis of a spiritual principle.
就係根據呢個靈性嘅呢一個嘅原則咧係去生活。
But as we've gone on through life, the ups and downs and everything in between.
咁但係當我哋繼續去走過呢個人生啦，有起有跌啦。
We've begun to see that we've shed some of our selfishness.
咁我就發現啦，我哋身上一啲嘅自私咧，慢慢咧就係少咗。
Not completely, but started.
唔係完全冇晒，就係少咗。
And we're trying all the time to target that what we're supposed to be doing together or apart or always is to dedicate our lives to learning to love Krishna.
咁而我哋都好睇到一樣嘢就係我哋要做嘅一樣，即係我哋專注做一樣嘢就係點樣將我哋嘅人生咧係專注喺咧就係去為 Krishna 去愛 Krishna。
A person advanced in spiritual consciousness.
當個人佢係喺靈性知覺係好進步嘅時候。
Through the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra.
咁通過咧念誦 Hare Krishna mantra。
Need not practice to develop tolerance separately.
佢咧就唔需要再分別咧去培養呢一個忍耐。
For a devotee develops all good qualities.
咁對一個奉獻者，如果佢要去培養所有好嘅品質
，simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra regularly.
咁咧就只需要咧恆常咁樣去念誦 Hare Krishna 嘅曼陀。
So this is actually our practice.
呢個咧就我哋嘅修習。
And it may take a bit longer than you hoped.
咁呢個咧就可能需要比我哋希望咧係更加長一啲嘅時間。
And you may have to go through your ups and downs in life.
亦都可能咧需要去我哋喺人生入面經歷一啲起跌。
And you might sometimes face serious challenges.
咁亦都有陣時我哋可能會面對一啲非常之嚴峻嘅考驗。
But the chanting of the mantra, it works.
咁但係咧呢個念誦聖名咧係得嘅。
It works.
係可以做得到嘅。
And we already have good qualities, but they're covered over by the fight between goodness and ignorance.
我哋咧其實本身擁有呢啲好嘅品質啦，但係佢只係俾呢一個善良屬性同埋愚昧屬性嘅呢個鬥爭咧所覆蓋住。
So the more that we take shelter, we connect with Prabhupada's words.
咁如果我哋更加能夠同聖Prabhupada嘅話語係聯繫埋一齊
，and the simple truths，
唔係一個好simple truth， 一個簡單嘅真相。
And the more we learn that the world itself is by definition, it won't work.
咁而我哋亦都要去明白咧，呢個世界咧個定義就係呢個係行唔通嘅。
It can't make you fully happy.
係呢個世界唔會令我哋完全咧係快樂。
And don't just blame the present circumstance, whatever it may be.
我哋唔好咧就係淨去怪咧現今我哋身處嘅呢一個嘅狀況。
But look a little deeper.
我哋睇深入啲。
And know that you have Prabhupada's words.
我哋要知道咧，我哋擁有咧聖帕巴所講嘅説話。
To hold on to.
我哋咧可以捉住呢一啲嘅説話。
So this is the message that he wants to give to the people of Hong Kong, the people of China, the people of India, the people of America, the people of the world.
呢個咧係聖帕巴想俾香港人啦、中國人啦、美國人啦、全世界嘅人嘅呢一啲嘅呢一個訓示。
Let me find you another nice quote about retaliation. Not exactly. So this is Dhruva Maharaj.
咁另外一個關於報復嘅聖帕巴所講嘅説話咧，關於咧係 Dhruva Maharaj。
He says, "Oh my Lord,
我親愛嘅主
because I was seeking an opulent material position,
因為咧我喺度尋求一個物質世界嘅富裕嘅一個嘅位置。
I was performing severe types of penances and austerities.
我咧係做一啲非常嚴厲嘅苦行。
But now I have gotten you,
但係咧我而家得到你。
who are very difficult for even the great demigods or the saintly persons or kings to attain.
就算有啲好偉大嘅半神人啦、國王啦、一啲聖人咧，都好難咧去得到嘅，得到你。
I was searching after pieces of glass.
我咧其實喺度尋找緊一啲破碎嘅玻璃片。
But instead I have found the most valuable jewel.
但係咧實際上我咧就揾到咧呢個最寶貴嘅珠寶。
Therefore I am so satisfied
所以咧我係非常之滿足。
that I do not wish to ask any benediction
我
from
咧
you.
唔想咧再由你唔想咧再得到由你身上得到任何嘅其他嘅祝福。
So Prabhupada says this is satisfaction.
跟住帕巴就話呢個係真正嘅滿足。
We are searching after so many things to become satisfied.
我哋咧要尋找好多嘢咧，好多嘢咧，為咗得到呢個滿足。
But if we try to approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead,
但係如果我哋咧去尋找去親近咧至尊人格守神，
that we do not know,
呢個係我哋唔知道嘅，
and without any motive,
亦都係冇任何嘅動機。
it cannot be checked.
呢個咧係cannot be checked，
Stopped.
唔可以阻止。
If you really want peace of mind,
如果你真係想得到心意，得到真正嘅平靜，
then you search out Krishna and surrender to him.
你咧就要尋找 Krishna 同埋向佢臣服。
And then Prabhupada would say, where is the difficulty?
跟住聖爸爸就會講困難喺邊度咧？
Krishna is personally canvassing you.
跟住咧Krishna 而家喺度咧游説緊你，親自去游説你。
You are so full.
你係一個大蠢材，
He is giving you assurance.
佢咧係俾緊一啲保證俾你，
I shall give you protection.
我咧會保護你。
We are suffering in this world
我哋咧喺呢個世界受苦，
because we are making our life in sinful activities.
因為我哋咧係喺我哋人生入邊咧做咗好多罪惡嘅活動。
Sinful activities, when we think of sinful activities, we think, oh, meat eating, drinking, gambling, these things are sinful. But Prabhupada says sinful activities means trying to satisfy myself, my senses.
咁我哋去諗一啲罪惡活動嘅時候，我哋可能就話一啲食肉啊、飲酒啊、麻醉品啊等等。咁就係聖爸爸所形容嘅罪惡嘅活動咧，就話我哋咧係去嘗試去滿足我哋自己，滿足我哋嘅感官。
So only Prabhupada can point to us all and call us rascals.
只有聖爸爸可以指住我哋話我哋係混蛋。
And we have to agree with him.
我哋要同意我哋真係。
Yes, I'm a rascal.
我係一個混蛋。
Because I don't know Krishna well enough yet.
因為我哋咧唔係真係咁明白，即係喺呢個階段未係好明白 Krishna。
to understand how I can serve him.
我哋點樣去我哋未明白點樣去為 Krishna 服務。
But whatever I do know,
我只係知道係乜嘢咧？
I should use that nicely in making some kind of an offering.
我哋就運用我哋有嘅嘢咧嚟到做一個好好嘅供奉。
And then Krishna will be pleased.
咁咧 Krishna 就會開心。
Okay, I'm going to finish talking here, and it's your responsibility again.
好啦，媽德子就講完佢要講嘅嘢啦，咁係大家嘅責任去講嘢。
Chandra, Prabhu. Sorry?
Nobody's asking anything, so I'll ask them.
Okay. Thank you. You're sort of getting the things moving again. Thank you. Yes.
You mentioned about difficult situations.
咁Prabhu 就講啦，媽德子就講咗啲困難嘅境況咯。
Maybe sort of related to my earlier question. How much of that would be Krishna's arrangement, and how much of that might be out bad karma? 咁當我哋遇到一啲狀況啦，啲唔好嘅狀況嘅時候，咁有幾多係 Krishna 嘅安排，有幾多係同我哋嘅業報有關，無論係好或者唔好嘅業報。
I've heard it said by reliable sources that when somebody becomes a devotee, or even tries to become a devotee, or even starts to chant the Hare Krishna mantra, then something changes for them.
咁媽德子就話佢有一個好可靠嘅途徑，我就聽到咧，就係話當一個人去成為奉獻者咯，嘗試成為奉獻者咧，甚至係即係開始去念誦Hare Krishna 曼陀嘅時候咧，有啲嘢已經喺佢身上面咧係改變緊。
Before one steps onto the path of devotional life, then one is accompanied in his journey of whatever kind by, you could say, a part of Krishna, a representative part of Krishna, as the Paramatma, or the Lord who resides in the heart.
You mean before
one becomes a devotee.
當個人成為奉獻者之前咧，其實有一部分嘅 Krishna 咧就係以超靈嘅身份咧，其實喺住喺每一個人嘅心入邊。
And the reason the Paramatma is accompanying everyone, every living being, is to make sure that everything is done justly.
咁而點解超靈要陪伴住每一個嘅靈魂咧？就係要保證咧每一樣嘢咧發生喺呢個人身上咧，身上咧都係公平嘅。
So for whatever you've done in the past that is inappropriate, you're going to have to pay that.
咁所以你喺以前嘅無論你做過任何一啲係唔好唔正確嘅嘢咧，你都需要咧係承擔翻嗰個結果。
So modern people, first of all, they don't believe in past lives.
咁好多現代人咧，佢哋根本唔相信咧有前生。
And they refuse to accept that after this life there's any future life.
咁而亦都佢哋都唔接受咧喺呢一世之後咧會之後再有下一世。
So they feel that they're justified in saying that this is one life, and then I die and it's all over.
咁所以好多人就話啦，我只係得一世嘅啫，咁我知我死咗咧，所有嘢都冇晒㗎啦。
But from scripture we learn that it's not like that.
咁但係由經典嗰度咧，我知道咧並唔係咁樣嘅。
Things are coming to you now because of your desires in the past.
咁點解有啲嘢而家喺你身上發生？就因為你以前嘅啲慾望，即係你以前有嘅慾望。
You think, I think, I want something, and then it comes.
你啦，或者我啦，想得到啲嘢咧，跟住佢就會嚟到啦。
Or it doesn't come.
或者冇出現到。
But actually, when we study, we see that the effect of karma is that what I want in this life, it will come in the next life.
咁但係咧，當我哋去研究呢個業報嘅時候咧，就好多時就會我哋呢一世想得到嘅嘢咧，喺下一世咧我哋就會得到啦。
And if I continue with life after life very steadily, then what will happen is what I wanted in my last life will come in this life, and that's what I want now. And what I want in my next life, it will continue in a steady flow.
咁所以如果我哋係咁樣一世一世咁樣睇嘅時候咧，就係我哋前世想得到嘅嘢咧，就會喺呢一世就會出現啦，跟住就會下一世咁樣就會向前咁樣一直咁樣發展落去。
But if what I wanted last life and what I want this life are completely different.
咁但係我前一世想要嘅嘢同我呢一世想要嘅嘢咧，係可能係完全唔一樣嘅。
We're going to meet with confusion.
咁我哋就會好混亂。
And so to regulate your journey, but neutrally, not interfering, but to regulate your journey, in the form of Paramatma is there with you to say, this is what you wanted, here it is.
咁所以咧，為咗要即係平衡翻我哋嘅我哋嘅人生啦，咁所以咧，我哋呢個 Paramatma 超靈咧就會佢會係中性咁樣咧就話俾我聽，即係呢個咧就係你想要嘅嘢啦。
And when one starts to chant Hare Krishna and attempts to become actually a devotee, then through the sound of his name, Krishna enters your heart instead.
咁就係當一個人去開始念誦 Hare Krishna 嘅曼陀啦，或者係成為一個奉獻者嘅時候咧 ，Krishna 咧就會作為一個聲音咧進入我哋嘅內心入邊。
And we've heard that he readjusts your karmic lot.
佢亦都會咧係去糾正我哋呢一個嘅業報嘅定律。
But he knows what you need to learn.
但係佢都知道咧，我哋要學習啲乜嘢。
So he doesn't just take it away.
佢就唔係淨係攞走呢啲業報。
If he just took it away, you wouldn't have a life.
You will
wouldn't have a life.
如果你攞走呢啲嘢，你就冇咗你嘅人生。
So instead, he trains you through your karma.
咁樣去 Krishna 係通過我哋嘅業報咧嚟到訓練我哋。
So in that sense, you're dealing with Krishna. He's the one who's orchestrating.
咁咧，即係話咧，我哋咧其實係 Krishna 喺度安排緊呢啲嘢。
But he's working with the accumulation of your desires.
咁但係呢啲佢係通過咧佢係亦都係喺度即係通過我哋以前係積累落嚟嘅呢一啲嘅慾望咧嚟到喺度做緊一啲嘢。
So if you want to clarify that and make your life more calm and peaceful, almost you could say, more trusting.
如果你想你嘅人生咧變得比較平靜啦，比較平穩啲嘅話
you need to be aligning yourself as best you can more and more and more with what is given as the process to clear away the unwanted things.
咁我哋咧就要通過呢一個，我哋要清除我哋一啲唔好嘅嘢啦，唔要嘅嘢啦。咁我哋咧我哋要係跟住咁樣嚟到去做。
And that's where the chanting comes in. That's where the practices come in. That's where the early morning is very important.
咁呢個咧就係我哋嘅修習啦，清晨嘅念誦啦，我哋嘅修習。
So we set these as our standards, and we do the best we can.
咁呢個係聖跑定咗個標準啦，我哋就會盡我哋所能做到最好。
In an honest way, in the most honest possible way.
亦都係一個最誠實嘅可以做嘅方法去做。
Of course, we're not honest.
咁當然啦，我哋唔誠實。
Prabhupada would say that the material world is like a prison house.
咁咧，聖跑話咧，呢個物質世界就好似個監獄咁樣。
So, relatively speaking, you won't find many gentlemen in the prison house.
咁一般嚟講，你唔會喺監獄入邊咧揾到一啲紳士。
So we know we have a side to our nature that is not really actually fully aligned with pleasing Krishna.
咁即係我哋咧其實我哋嘅人生並唔係咧完全同 Krishna 想我哋去做嘅嘢咧係完全一致嘅。
And sometimes that might rise up and make things a little bit shaky.
咁有陣時有啲唔好嘅嘢就會放大咗啦，令到我哋咧就變得唔平穩啦。
And then by Krishna's mercy, it can again be stabilized.
咁就係通過 Krishna 嘅仁慈咧，又會變翻穩定翻落嚟。
So that's kind of how the journey goes, you know.
咁呢個就係我哋嘅人生嘅旅程。
Is that okay? Yeah. Any other wonderful questions? Thank you. Yes. Yes, please.
I think you made a very beautiful point that time when you mentioned that if we understand that Krishna is in complete control, then it's his problem.
Yes.
If I rightly understand that, we theoretically understand Krishna is the one who basically does all the situations that we have.
Yes.
But at the same time, devotees may not know exactly, because they are not at that stage of realization. So the action is still on their side, right?
Yes.
And we make mistakes. So
Yes.
do you have any insight or any
個問題就係我哋當然頭先媽啲講過啦，如果一個人能夠完全睇到就係 Krishna 係擁有一切啦，係 Krishna 係控制者啦，咁我哋就可以睇到呢個就係最理想啦。咁但係我哋唔係啦，唔係處於呢個嘅平台嗰度。咁有啲咩忠告俾我哋咧
Do you have children? How old? 11.
咁爸爸有一個11歲嘅女。
Boy or girl? Girl. When your daughter was 2 years old, or no, 1.5 years old, did she fall over a lot?
咁當呢個女歲半嘅時候，係咪成日行路都會跌親呢？咁當然係啦。
Did you get angry with her?
咁你會唔會嬲佢呢？梗係唔會啦。
Did you call her stupid?
你會唔會話佢好蠢呢？咁啊當然亦都唔會啦。
Did you know always that she could walk?
咁你會唔會知道咧？佢一定識得行嘅。
We should feel the same.
咁我哋都係要一樣咁樣去諗。
Sometimes we call ourselves stupid.
有陣時我哋會話自己好蠢。
When we're trying to learn to walk.
就當我哋去學行嘅時候咧，我哋覺得自己好蠢。
And sometimes we think that Krishna is calling us stupid.
有陣時我哋會覺得 Krishna 都覺得我哋好蠢。
But he's reaching out his hand to help us to stand up and try again.
咁但係其實佢伸隻手出嚟咧，係扶翻我哋起身啦，想令我哋可以再起翻身。
So we need that experience, that confidence that Krishna is reaching out his hand and saying, try and stand up again.
咁所以我哋要有呢個信心咧，就係話咧，我哋要相信咧，接受咧 Krishna 咧係其實伸隻手出嚟咧，係幫我哋企翻起身。
We can ask for that.
我哋可以咧係叫 Krishna 俾我哋。
That's a nice thing to ask for.
呢個係呢個都幾好嘅。我哋如果係希望即係我哋問 Krishna 攞呢樣嘢。
Please help me to see that you're reaching out your hand to help me to stand up again.
咁咧，求你幫我睇到咧，你係其實係伸隻手出嚟咧，係幫我企翻起身。
And both Srila Prabhupada and of course Lord Nityananda, Lord Chaitanya, they were reaching out to the people of the whole world to say, get up, you can stand up, you can chant, you can become something that you have no idea about at this time.
咁所以無論主 Krishna 啦、主 Nityananda 啦、主 Chaitanya 啦，其實佢都係咧喺度同我哋講咧，你可以企起身，對所有人講，全世界所有人講，你係可以企起身嘅，你係可以做一啲咧你自己想像唔到好好嘅嘢嘅。
There's a wonderful story that I heard one time.
咁我咧聽過一個非常之美妙嘅故事。
When Prabhupada first went to America.
咁當聖巴巴咧係第一次去到美國嘅時候
，he had a heart attack on the way。
咁佢喺船上邊咧有心臟病發。
He had practically no money。
佢基本上係冇任何冇錢。
And he had no idea what he was going to find。
咁佢都咧唔知道佢會揾到啲乜嘢。
But somehow or another, Krishna had arranged something for him。
咁但係不知怎地啦 ，Krishna 就為佢安排咗一啲嘢。
And he arrived at a time of cultural turmoil。
咁當聖巴巴去抵達美國嘅時候咧，就係一個文化嘅一個好混亂嘅時候。
When many young people were rebellious against the American government。
咁當時好多年青人咧係對美國政府咧嘅係非常之反叛嘅。
And instead they were turning to all kinds of intoxicants and different things。
咁呢啲後生仔咧就係依賴一啲麻醉品啦、毒品啦。
And Srila Prabhupada had this deep, like grandfatherly mood。
咁而聖巴巴就係好似一個祖父咁樣嘅一個心水。
And he was working at trying to turn the attention of these young people who were so confused towards something that was eternal and real。
咁咧就係聖巴巴就係去幫助咧呢一啲咁迷惘嘅後生仔咧，就係由一啲 一啲錯誤嘅嘢咧，係轉去一啲咧係永恆而真實嘅一啲嘅。
At one time he was staying upstairs in what's called a loft in a young man's place, and the young man was taking drugs.
咁當時有次爸爸咧就住喺一個後生仔嘅閣樓上面啦，咁而呢個後生仔咧就係喺度吸食緊毒品。
And Prabhupada was tolerating the inconveniences.
咁爸爸忍受呢一切嘅唔方便啦。
And he started having meetings there in that big open space.
咁佢咧就係一個好大嘅空曠嘅地方度咧，就係會見一啲人
teaching Sanskrit.
佢咧喺度教梵文。
Because they weren't interested in anything else.
因為啲人咧對其他任何嘢都冇興趣。
So one time he was having, you could say, a Sanskrit class.
咁有一次咧，佢就係喺度上呢個梵文嘅堂。
With these drug-taking hippies.
咁咧就係同呢啲即係受啲迷幻藥影響嘅一啲嘅嬉皮士一齊。
And a reporter came.
咁跟住咧有個記者就嚟到。
And he walked in.
跟住佢就行入去啦。
And he wrote an article about this. And he looked around the room, and there were all these young people.
跟住呢個記者行入去間房就見到呢啲後生仔。
Peculiar looking.
佢哋個樣好怪。
Long hair, dirty, so many things.
好長頭髮啦，好污糟邋遢啦。
Sitting facing the walls.
咁當時我哋咧就係面向牆咁樣坐。
Doing something.
喺度做一啲嘢。
And he walked in and he saw all these young people doing very unusual things.
佢就見到啲後生仔做一啲好唔尋常嘅嘢。
And at the back of the room there was a curtain.
咁咧喺個房後邊咧有個窗簾。
And he came in and he walked behind the curtain.
咁佢就行穿過個窗簾去到後邊。
And he saw Prabhupada was there as an elderly Indian gentleman.
佢就見到聖Prabhupada咧一個印度嘅長者就坐喺度。
And he said to him, What are they doing?
跟住佢就問Prabhupada，佢哋喺度做緊啲乜嘢
And Prabhupada said, I don't know.
跟住Prabhupada就話：我唔知啊，
I don't know.
我唔知道佢哋做緊啲乜嘢。
But I am very patient.
咁但係咧，我係非常之有耐性嘅。
So there's our answer.
咁呢個就係問題嘅答案。
Any other? Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Mataji, I like how you share. Make me feel like I can have a close relationship with Sri Prabhupada.
Yeah.
Because I used to think like a big boss, like something maybe very distant, but now I can have a close conversation.
Yeah.
And have hope in my life.
I'm so happy about that.
咁呢個分享咧就係聽完Mataji講嘢，佢就感受可以同聖Prabhupada有個好親密嘅關係。
Then I think my visit to Hong Kong is successful.
咁Mataji嘅嚟探訪我哋咧就係成功嘅啦。
Have we finished?
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.